Do something now, we will miss out and we will not be able to cover what we are supposed to do for the semester. In view of that, I'm sorry, but I have to decline the request for us to postpone the um, class till next week. I'd rather we do something shortly so that you go and do whatever it is you are doing, and then next week we continue from where we would leave off today. Okay, so last week we started with mechanism design, and today I would want us to do auctions so that next week we can finish with some aspects of mechanism design that requires us to use auctions in, you know. Please, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
though.
yes, we can.
Okay. Al Hassan is here, so I don't know why the rest are not here. Okay, so please, a minute, let me share my screen. Okay, so we are looking at auctions, and um, when we talk about auctions, anybody with an idea of what they know about auctions? I know the guys, you've been in this for some time. Last week, some of you were giving me examples of what you've been doing. So when we talk about auctions, what are we looking at? Anybody? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Doc.
Hey, why does it feel like I'm here alone?
Doc, we
If you
can hear you.
So when we talk about auctions, what are we
We can
looking?
hear you.
Doc, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, this is Joseph Kenanti.
Please come again.
This is Joseph Kenanti.
Okay, go ahead.
So auctions are public sales of goods and services where there are bidders or let me say, there are clients, or let me put it that way, people who are willing to pay to bid for available prices. And then these people, the one that bid the higher prices, get the goods or the services.
Okay. So what are the in which areas do we normally use auctions?
Doc,
Yes, sir.
please, and if you can come again with the question.
Yes, go ahead.
No, I mean the question again.
So in which areas do we use auctions, or at what point in time do we use auctions?
Okay, mostly they are public sales. They are public sales. And then, so let's say, normally, as I say, it's a public sale. So when the government sees that, or government agencies realize that for a particular time, maybe a goods or maybe a car. Let me give you an example. Maybe a car or physical equipment, then which is they have used for a longer time, and then they want to sell it to the public. They publish the news, or they publish the news for that this particular time, or this particular day, the government is, or this agency is doing an auction. So they publish for a particular time. Then bidders will go and register to bid for their bid. And then when the time is, then they go there, then they set rules to the seller set ground rules before they start the bid. So they all come into an agreement. Then they start the bidding. So this one will say, I want to see this. Listen. So first,
I think we lost you.
so
What's the name
the
again?
seller will give them the price, or will give them the item, the item condition, and maybe the description of the item, maybe something like that. So they will start bidding. So this one, the person will say, I'll give 2 cedis. This one will say 3 cedis, 4 cedis, 5 cedis. So based on the seller's peg prices, then the one who will bid the highest price, if it matches the seller's bid peg price, then you hit the hammer on the table or something. This shows that the highest bid has won. That's what I know about auctions.
Okay, thank you very much. What's the name again?
Joseph Kenante.
Okay. Yes, Joseph, thank you so much. So, in your
Hello.
explanation, you've highlighted some types of auctions that we have, right? And thank you for that. So basically, when we talk about auctions, it's a market mechanism, right? So it's one of the market mechanisms that we can think of. And in this case, we are also, once it's a market, we are looking at buying and selling, right? So in auctions, what happens is that it is based on bidding, right? So we do buying and selling, but this is mainly based on bidding. And we are saying that it is used in the commodity market. It is used by government for government tenders. As he rightly said, the example he gave, for example, when they want to sell off vehicles and stuff, one thing they can do is that they let people bid and then they sell off the car to them. You can also have online platforms. I think some of the guys who are used to buying cars online, you see something like this on there. I think eBay and the rest, you would see something like this on there. So it is used, it's commonly used. Some of us might have not really experienced it before, but in some of the churches, they also do that, right? Some of the churches, so if you don't have firsthand, maybe when you cast your mind back to the church harvest and things where people have been doing those selling those food items, you can think of auctions in that sense. They even use it for selling artworks. I mean, you can think of lots and lots of systems within which auctions are being used. But basically what happens is that we have bidding, right, where people propose the amount that they wish to buy the item for. So we are saying that this kind of system determines a fair market prices, right, based on demand and supply. So at the end of the day, once the item is up, people are bidding, that shows the demand levels, right? And obviously, once the item is up for sale, then it means we have the issue of supply. So one way or the other, it determines fair market prices because the demand and supply would determine the price that the item will be sold for at the end of the day. So what are the importance of auctions in this sense? We say that auctions ensure efficient resource allocation, as I mentioned earlier on. At the end of the day, it's those items that are really needed that are up for sales, and people are also able to get these items at the prices that they feel it should be. So we also have the issue of maximization, right? So we say that it maximizes revenue for governments and businesses, right? So at the end of the day, businesses are able to get substantial amount, maximum amount as far as their revenue is concerned when they put their things up for auction. I mean, that is not to say that we don't have cases where we have no sale in auctions. We actually do, but in this case, we are saying that it maximizes revenue for governments and also for businesses. Then we can say that it encourages competitive pricing and market transparency. And I think what the explanation I gave at the initial stage fits in this one. So at the end of the day, people are coming up with the prices of how much they feel that the item is worth, okay? And everybody knows that this is it. So at the end of the day, we have that kind of transparency. When we are looking at other forms of auctions, we'll see some aspects of transparency. But in the meantime, let's stick to this one. So it's encouraged competitive pricing, which we all agree, because everybody comes up with his or her own price, and at the end of the day, the maximum price wins. So, I mean, people are willing to give higher prices if the item in question is of much value or worth to them. Then we also say that it helps determine the true market value of goods. All right. In some cases, you would realize that we have some types of auctions that you are bidding, but you do not really know the worth of it. We'll look at that. We'll look at that example too, where we have the common value auction. But at the end of the day, we are able to get the true market value in the sense that if, for example, you are selling an item and the item is worth higher to the users, and you have no idea of this, right? You are likely to sell it at a lower price, right? And at the end of the day, that will not be the true market value of the item. On the other hand, if the item to you would be sold for a particular price, which is higher than the market value, you would realize that when you put it up there, you wouldn't get a sale for it. And so based on that, if people are bidding lower, you will be able to sell it at that price. I mean, at the end of the day, this will bring up the true market value of the goods. So a typical example is trying to get an item that, for example, assuming you have a picture, right? A picture frame, and this picture frame, I mean, to you, it's just, one of those picture frames that it doesn't mean much to you, and you want to sell it off. But as soon as some people come up and tell you that I'm going to buy this for, let's say, 1,000 Ghana cedis. I mean, you might get shocked, right? But that might be the true market value of the good, because at the end of the day, the users know the value of the goods, as opposed you, the one who is putting it up there. I mean, auctions, one way or the other, bring to bear the true market value of the goods. And simply because we have the demand and supply mechanism playing a role in this. So let's look at the classification of auctions. Normally, when we look at auctions, we are looking at two types, or let's say two classifications in this sense. We have what we call the private value auctions and then the common value auctions, okay? Now, if we talk about the private value, you would recall last week that when we were looking at the sale of, was it a phone or a car? I don't remember, but I think we put an item out there and we asked that each of us bid, right? So what happens is that we have each bidder with his or her own valuation, right? Now, this one, what the item means to one bidder might be different from what the item means to the other bidder, okay? So if, for example, I put the same artwork up there and I'm saying that I'm selling this artwork, somebody like Xavier, do you like artwork?
Yes, madam. Yes, doc.
You do?
Yes, very well.
Okay, so maybe if I put an artwork there, Xavier might be willing to pay 2,000 or let's say 3,000 for maybe a scribble, an artwork that looks like a scribble. Then maybe somebody like Peter, Peter would be like, Charlie, where we they hung? Why will I take even 500 Ghana cedis to go and buy a paper with somebody scribbling? I can even let my 2-year-old scribble on a paper and then put it in a frame and hang it. So why will I go and buy that? Charlie, people don't know what they are using their money for. Each of these people have their private valuations of a particular good. You understand? So at the end of the day, what the item means to Xavier will be different from how much it is worth to Peter, right? So each of them have their private values in this case. So you can think of any other item, which is why when we are doing auctions, we would have some people dropping off at the end of the day. For example, like the ones they've been doing that we are familiar with. When they start mentioning the prices, we are like, nah, this one I won't push again. So it means that you've reached your cutoff, right? Then we have what we call the common value auction. Now, the common value auction, this actually happens when we have one true value of the item, right? But we have different estimates simply because the true value of the item has not been disclosed to anybody. So, for example, the government tells us that we are selling this particular area, right? We want to give this maybe the Pong area to a company, okay, maybe they can mine there or they can, do whatever it is. So you give a license to people to go and mine at a particular area. So you have a land and you are giving the license to people to go and, mine at a particular area. Now, the people need to pay for it, right? So people would have to pay for, the land or the to get the license. But at the end of the day, they have no idea how much minerals they are going to get from that land. You get the point? So the land, the minerals that will be retrieved from the land might be worth maybe 100 billion, okay? But I have no idea. You have no idea. Maybe Isaac has a company and Isaac would want to, get the license. I also have a company, I want to get the license. But I have no idea that that particular land is worth 10, maybe 10 billion based on the minerals that is in that land. And I mean, nobody knows. So at the end of the day, we would have the auction. So whoever gets the highest bid in this case will win, right? Without knowing the worth of the item. So this is what we call the common value auction. And that is slightly different from the private value auction. So the private value auction, the item is worth differently to people. So you know what it is, right? You know what the item is. You've seen what the item is. And to you, you think it is worth maybe 2 Ghana cedis. To me, it is worth 3 Ghana cedis. To another person, it's worth 4 Ghana cedis. So when we start the bid, and maybe the last person bids 4 Ghana cedis, we all fall off, right? But then the one who bidded 4 Ghana cedis wins, okay, and then get it. But with a common value, perhaps the item is worth maybe 5 Ghana cedis. I have no idea. You also have no idea. But then we are bidding, and whoever bids the highest would win. Any question? Do we understand this?
Oh,
Yes, Doc.
hello,
Okay.
Doc.
Yes, sir.
Doc, so please, in this situation, how would the bidders be able to measure, maybe assuming the profit, how would they be able to measure it before they can bid like, oh, let me give out 5,000 Ghana cedis for
You are
this
talking
particular.
about the common value.
Okay, so how would they
Are you talking
measure the
about the
profit?
common value or you are talking about the private value?
No, please, the common value.
Okay.
Because the builder has the right to, value it. So how would they measure the profit?
So it's normally based on estimates, right? So the true value is not known because you've not extracted the minerals yet. I mean, using the example of the mining license, okay, or the mining rights, the mining extraction rights. At the end of the day, you have no idea the quantum of gold in the land. You have no idea the quantum of oil in the land. Unless you drill, you wouldn't know. You understand? But you can have some estimates. Okay, so maybe you can use your own, experts, whatever, to give you an idea of how much it is worth. But you don't really know. So you don't have the true value, right? You don't have the true value. But then you can only estimate. So you think that this is how much it's worth. And normally in this kind of auctions, you would use signaling to bid, right? So if, for example, you feel that Akosia has some knowledge that you don't have, and Akosia bids, let's say, 500,000, in your mind, Charlie, if Akosia pa that I know has bid at 500,000, then it means that the thing might be worth around this much. Oh, Charlie, then let me increase mine to, let's say, 600,000. You get it? So they have that kind of thing. So you use signaling you use information, and information is very key to you, because at the end of the day, whatever information you get would help you to estimate it well. So this is a case where you don't know the true value, right? So it's just like I don't know if you've seen some of these games where they tell you that, let me give you I give you 2 Ghana cedis, or I give you this let's say I give you 200 Ghana cedis, or I give you this egg. So there is an egg, not a real egg, but as in something wrapped up in, in the form of an egg. And then they tell you, I'm giving you this 1,000 or this, so I'll give you this egg. And at the end of the day, you have to choose between the two, but you have no idea what is in the egg, right? So you can only estimate, you can only think of what you think will be over there, right? So you might think whether would it be less than that, or would it be, I mean, all those games form part of what we call the common value auctions. So what will happen is that the one who is giving to you know, okay, but you do not know how much it's worth, and so you would have to bid in this case. Are we okay?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Any other question, or we should proceed? Okay, so let's proceed. So let's look at how these two differ. So when we pick the definition, as I rightly mentioned, that of private value, each bidder have an idea of how much they value the item, okay? And this is independent of others. It doesn't really matter whether Xavier loves art or Xavier doesn't love art. As for me, I will not use my 500 Ghana cedis to go and buy an art piece. So forget it. If Xavier loves it, that is his business. Do you get the point? So in this case, each bidder knows their own valuation independent of others. So it doesn't matter how much others see the item. But for the common value, what happens is that it is the same for everybody, because the value is the same in this case. But the bidders have different estimates, and they normally have different estimates because they have no idea of the true value of the item, right? But if it comes out, 10 billion is 10 billion. 10 billion for you is 10 billion for you all get 10 billion at the end of the day. But you have no idea how much it's really worth. And so you would have to, have some estimates in order to do your bidding. Then we have the valuation source. So for private value, it is based on individual preferences, taste, or needs. So at the end of the day, for the private value, it is how I feel towards that particular item. It is how much I like that item or how much I dislike it, okay? Or how much I need the item or how much, I have no need for it. The extent to which I have a need for it will determine the value that I will place on the item. Then we have, for the common value, it is based on a shared item's unknown market value, okay, which is estimated privately. So as I rightly mentioned, at the end of the day, it is perhaps based on the seller, who would have an idea of the value of the item, and that value will be the same for each of them. However, in this case, because you are not privy to this, all that, again, I'm saying, all that the bidders can do is to only estimate, okay? Then we say that as far as interdependencies are concerned, for the private value, there are no interdependencies. Your value is unaffected by others' information. So for example, If Savior comes to tell you that, oh, this thing is very beautiful, I love it when I hang it in my room, so and so, you still, I mean, Peter still doesn't mind. I said, Master, like the thing is hanging in your room, what for? Like, so when you wake up in the morning, you watch it like that, and then your 1,005 is gone or what? Like, what does it do? Okay, so I mean, no matter what Peter does, no matter what Peter, think about this, it doesn't affect, um, uh, sorry, no matter what Savior does, it doesn't affect Peter's valuation in any way. And no matter what Peter um, do as far as his mannerisms and things are concerned, it wouldn't affect uh, Savior's, love or preference for that particular item. So we don't have much of interdependencies in this case. And then we have, for common value, we have some level of interdependencies. I mean, lots of interdependencies. So others information can improve your estimate. Okay. So if you hear that, Charlie, this person is going to bid this much, or I heard that this man says he would place this amount for that, then be like, Charlie, then we have to increase our small, or then it means that, Charlie, the thing will be good, or I mean, it means it will be more than this. So let's go for this amount. Let's go for that amount. So whatever information that you get from the other person will be relevant to your estimate. So we have that level of interdependencies among the bidders. So let's look at examples for each of them. For the private value, I think we have we've even had examples here in the class where we were trying to use the sale of a phone, right, last week. So for that, we have examples like buying arts, okay, for personal collection. We have hotel room beds, we have event tickets, and the rest. Then we have the common value. For the common value, we have bidding for oil fields, okay? And I think that was the example I was trying to give initially. And then timber rights, mineral exploration licenses, and the rest. So let's look at the risk of a winner's curse. When we talk about a winner's curse, it normally happens when you win a bid, right? But how much you pay for that bid is more than the true worth of the bid, okay? So you win the bid, but how much you pay for it is worth more than, sorry, it's worth yes, it's worth more than the value of the bid. So the value of the bid is less than how much you paid for. So in that sense, you have made a loss, okay? So this is where we have what we call the winner's curse. If you talk about winner's curse, this is what it means. So if we talk about the private value, you would realize that for the private value, the winner's curse, the risk of falling into the winner's curse is minimal, right? Because the winner pays close to his personal value. You've seen the item, and the value that you've placed on the item is 2 cedis. And so you either bid either 2 cedis, less than 2 cedis, or whatever. Nobody goes above how much the person values the item for. So you pay close to your personal value. So you are not likely to fall into the winner's curse bracket. But with the common value, there is a likelihood of falling into the winner's curse bracket, in the sense that, assuming you are ready to pay, because you think that, Charlie, the way that place is situated, and I remember around 2005, they extracted some gold that was equivalent to 20 billion. Then I think that we can equally get about 15 billion from that place. So why don't I bid like 12 billion, right? So in this sense, you bid 12 billion, you win with 12 billion, you pay 12 billion. And at the end of the day, after extraction and everything, you realize that the only amount that you got from the entire activity was 10 billion, right? So it means you've fallen into the winner's curse trap. Then let's look at the strategic behavior. So as far as the strategic behavior is concerned, for private value, it's pretty straightforward, right? I mean, you know what the item is worth to you, and so you go for it. For the common value, people need to be a bit cautious, okay? Because at the end of the day, they have no idea. So you are trying to be careful so that you don't overpay, right? Then the use. So we are saying that the private value, as we looked, as in the examples that we looked at last week, we could think of the English and first price auctions. And for the common value, we would say that in most cases, we'll need some adjustments during maybe the auctions. So for example, we have what we call the open formats or the disclosure rules and stuff. So for example, when they are doing such an auction, maybe there is a rule as far as governance is concerned that they need to disclose this, they need to disclose that. That will help, or that will inform the bidders so that they don't fall into the winner's curse trap too much. But whatever be the case, you still don't know. You have certain information, but you still don't know the true value. Then we talk about information relevance. Okay, information revelation. Is it even relevant? Okay. As far as the private value is concerned, whoever reveals the information, you don't even care, because I mean, your value is personal to you, right? And nobody can tell your value but you. Okay, so whatever it is that it said out there, you know how much the item is worth to you. But as far as the common value is concerned, any little information is very relevant to you, right? So there are cases where people observe what others are doing, and that would inform them on how much value they should put on the item. So that will equally inform their estimate or their bid. Any question as far as private value and common value is concerned? Any question? If you don't ask me questions, I'll ask you questions. So, Inusa, 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 can anybody hear me?
Doc,
Yes,
we are
Doc.
here.
Yeah,
The place is, the place is extra quiet. So,
some of
Inusa,
us are exhausted because of yesterday's Salah.
because of yesterday, so you have hangover or what?
Muslims, they don't drink, so
Yeah,
they
Salah,
won't have
no
I mean,
hangover.
hangover.
so why would you have problems today?
Maybe
Eh?
We
They
couldn't
ate
finish the
them.
fasting, so we are doing it to replace the ones we could.
You didn't what? Anthony, what did you say? I don't know why the Christians are talking for the Muslims.
They are our brothers on the
They are
other
our
side.
friends, so
But
They
they
are
can
our
speak for themselves.
we are also doing Lent as Catholics. So
Yes,
we are all
yes,
fasting.
yes. I mean, I'm aware of that. So you are in that season. So you are in that solemn, season. So I'm just wondering why today will be a problem for anybody. Because the Muslims are not drinking, the Christians are not drinking, nobody is drinking. In fact,
So
yesterday,
Granta.
the only thing you did was to eat.
Doc, if you do communion very often, the wine is wine. So
So,
Anyway, please, any question? Okay, so what did I
yeah.
say is the
Hello,
winner's
Doc.
curse? Yes, sir.
So for the common value, let's say I want a concession in Ayinsuano to
Okay.
mine gold. Um, I've heard of something they call prospecting.
Something they call what?
Prospecting. Prospecting. And they have
Prospecting.
some, yes, they have some machines that they use to.
Hello.
And the concession to see, just like you have said, the estimate of what amount of minerals they have or they may have in that particular concession before they go ahead to even bid for that license or that concession.
Right.
So I just want to know if it's applicable in all the situations. For instance, in a common value where I needed to buy something or to bid for something, will I be allowed to have access to that concession or land to check it before I go into the bidding process?
Okay, so that's what I said that in this case, there are cases where you would have disclosure rules, okay? So as part of the process, maybe the governing body can say that you can give them access to this, or you can give them access to this information. You can let them know about this, you can let them know about that, okay? But the point here is that you wouldn't have everything true and true in order to be able to, know the exact market value in this case. I hope you get the point.
All right, thank you.
Because if we have an idea of the exact, then we wouldn't even be talking about the auction in the first place, where people are just estimating how much it is worth. So then in that case, we will be going in for the normal, either the English or the that you would see the other types. But at the end of the day, if the item is worth this much, it's worth that much. There's nothing more to it. Okay. So this is a case where we have a common value, and the other is a case where we have the private value. In cases where we have, for example, in the eyes of people, that particular place, what we are actually, or what you can actually, like a land. Let me use a land as an example. Okay. In a case where we are trying to sell a land, okay, and that land, you think that, Charlie, you can sell or you can build maybe this a skyrocket uh, building there. And so that land will be worth this much. You are foreseeing that you can do this with the land, do that with the land. And another person also wants that space for something else. The value that each of you have, as far as these are concerned, will be very different. Okay. So in that case, we are looking at the case of an English or a first price auction. This is a case where all that you've been given is a license to extract minerals, okay? And if you extract 10 tons, the value is the same as extracting, if you extract 10 tons, the value will be the same as extracting 10 tons if it was Peter who bought it. So if Peter extract 10 tons, the value is the same as Xavier extracting the 10 tons. Okay, so in that case, we have that common value, that same value. So the item is worth the same, right? But each of you have different estimates because you have no idea how much you would get from that particular place. So all that you are getting from the place is the oil that you are going to extract. I hope you get the point.
Yes, Doc.
So you all don't have the same you all don't know the true information. You don't the true value of that, the minerals that will be in the land. So what you'll be doing is you'll be estimating. So I mean, once you even take your machines and whatever it is to, but you still don't have the true value. What happens is that you can be given some extent of disclosure. Okay, the governing body, as far as the auction is concerned, can't say that we'll give you this information, we'll give you that information, but that is all that there is to it. So as you are bidding, you will be getting cues from other people to see how much it's really worth. You are not sure of how much it's really worth. That's the whole point, and that's the difference between the two.
Hello, Doc.
Yes, sir.
So in terms of the common value, can we conclude that the risk could be in the aspect of the risk? Can we say that it's 50-50 win or loss?
Yes, the risk
Because
is
we don't
high.
have the information, the actual information, but we are
Yes,
basing on assumptions and then estimation.
that's correct.
Oh, okay.
So in that case, you don't know. You get it. So you are either going to get a lot of profit from there, or you can even run at a loss, because at the end of the day, you bought the thing, but because you don't know the true value, you got something less than how much it's really worth. So indeed, you are right to say it's 50-50. That is to say that it has some level of risk, a higher risk. Okay.
Yeah, my good
Thank
doc, my good doctor. Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir.
Doc, the prof counts more than the doc. I don't know why.
You
Let me
said
ask
the
my
what?
question. The prof comes more in my mouth when I want to call you than the doc. I don't know why.
It's fine.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
By the way, assalamu alaikum. My question is, so in this case, the common one is more or less disadvantage to maybe more disadvantage as compared to that of the private one. In as much as I won't know the worth of the product and how it is really valued or quantified as compared to the private that you will know before you bid.
Mm.
Is that so?
So I would say that I didn't get the last point that you raised, but I would say that in the case of the common value, what can happen is that you can have people bidding more than they actually should. Okay. And I mean, the good thing for the bidder will be they bidding less than they actually should. And at the end of the day, they'll get some good profit out of it. You get the point. So it's as the last person said, it's 50-50. So at the end of the day, you can fall into, that's why I said you can't fall into the winner's curse, okay? The winner's curse bracket, where you would have you would have given out more than the thing is actually worth. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if I got your question. I don't know if this one answered, but you can do a follow-up question if I didn't get it.
Hello, Doc.
Yes, Anthony.
So, with the common value, my understanding is that it's applicable to things that are not quantifiable, like salt concession, gold, some natural resources hidden under the soil, oil, and the rest. If I'm clear, if I can,
So
if I'm right.
so you can say that, but in the same vein, we can also say it is applicable to things that are quantifiable, but the value is not disclosed to you or is not disclosed to whoever is bidding.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I think we can proceed from here. So now let's look at the 4 standard auctions, the types of auctions that we have. Oh, oh. Okay, there we are. So at the end of the day, we are looking at these 4 standard auctions, right? So for purposes of this class, let's stick to these ones. The first one being the first price sealed bid. So the first price sealed bid is what the example that we looked at the other time. However, ours was not sealed. Okay, because most of us typed bids in the comments in the chat. So the first price bid, we have that each bidder will submit his or her bid, right, to the seller. Then we would open it up and see which one is higher. Then whoever bids or whoever had the highest bid would win, okay? But then in this case, whatever you will bid is what you pay for. So whatever the highest bidder bidded is what he or she will pay for. So if, for example, we have an item and Amma bidded 50, Kofi bidded 90, and Kwame bidded 40. Obviously, Kofi bidded highest, right? And so how much is Kofi going to pay in this case? Kofi is going to pay 90, right? Because that's how much Kofi bidded. Then we have what we call the second price sealed bid. So in this case, this is where, again, let me use the same example. We have an item, Amma bidded 50, Kofi bidded 90, and Kwame bidded 40. Now, obviously, if you look at the prices, Kofi wins, okay? But how much will Kofi pay in this case? Kofi would rather pay 50 instead of 90. So Kofi will pay Ame's bid and not his own bid. So this is what we call the second price sealed bid, also the Vickrey auction. So what happens is that each bidder submits a sealed bid to the seller. The highest bidder wins and pays the second highest bid for the good. I think somebody asked this question last week. I don't know whether it's Jennifer or it was Debbie, but I hope you understand it now. Was it Jennifer or Debbie? And so I think based on that, we did an example, and that was the last thing we did last week before we ended the class. Okay. It was Priscilla.
Yes, please.
Okay, so Priscilla, do you understand it now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is the second price. What the highest bidder pays is the second highest bid for the good and not how much he or she bidded. Then we have what we call the Dutch. Now, for the Dutch auction, what happens is that the seller can decide that let's start with, let's say, 100,000. Okay. So let's start with 100,000. So anybody, I think I should rather do the example with you guys. So guys, I'm selling, what do you guys want? I don't even know what you guys really, what do you guys really want? But
Private jet.
hey, Master Anthony, your level is not in this class.
Politician, your level is high.
Anthony is always the outlier. Okay, so I mean let's use a very common thing, right? Let's use the latest laptop. I mean, we all use laptops, so let's use the latest brand of laptop. So I'm selling the latest brand of laptop. I'm selling it for 100,000. Anybody? 100,000. Okay, 95,000. Anybody? 80,000. Anybody? 70,000. 65,000.
65,000.
65,000. So Peter, the laptop goes to Peter. This is Peter Osei, right? So the
Yes.
laptop goes to Peter Osei for 65,000.
Okay.
Guys, do you see this? I started from 100,000. Nobody wanted it. 95, nobody wanted it. I started reducing it until I got to 65,000. Then Peter said he wanted it. Okay. So in this case, we have what we call the Dutch auction. We start from a higher price and then we start to reduce it. And whoever says the current price will win the item. Okay. So it means that perhaps to you, some of you, maybe the item is worth 20,000. Another person, the item is worth 15,000. Another person, the item is worth 60,000. In this case, if the item is worth 70,000 and you never said anything at 70,000, you've lost, right? And in these things, we are saying that we are looking at people who are rational, who are intelligent and all that. So you should be able to say whatever it is that you truly would want the item for when it gets to that point, unless you have, and of course, we also have strategies in this case, which we'll be looking at. Some people might not really say it now, though deep within them, the item is worth like 70,000. But they wanted to see if they could get a little profit from it. So they would keep quiet and see what will happen. That is also there, but that is when we are looking at the various strategies. So in this case, Peter wins at 65,000. That is for the Dutch. Then we have what we call the English auctions. As far as the English auctions is concerned, we have the seller who would begin with a low price, right? I wish we were in class. No, but I think, do we have a raise hand button in this one?
Yes, doc, there is.
We have a raise hand button. Okay.
Yes.
So this is what we okay. So this is what we will do. When I mention the price and you can afford it, right? You keep your hand up. If it gets to a point where nah, you want to, drop out, then you lower your hand, right? So can we begin? So I'm selling the laptop
Yes.
for 2,000 Ghana cedis. 2,000 Ghana cedis. Okay. So 2,000 Ghana cedis. Let's do 2,500 Ghana cedis. The hands are still up. 5,000 Ghana cedis. 6,000 Ghana cedis. 7,000 Ghana cedis. 10,000 Ghana cedis. 20,000 Ghana cedis. 25,000 Ghana cedis. So let me tell you one thing. When we start, right, the rule is that when we start, the hands are up. And once you drop your hands, as the money is going, up, you cannot lift your hand again. Once you drop out, you are out, okay? So currently we have how many people? So we have 3 people, and these 3 people are the ones that are competing because the rest, their hands were down all this while. So no one should put their hand up again because the rule is that once we start, you all put your hands up and then we keep going. So what we can do is that we can see hands dropping, but we can't see any hand up again. So we have 3 people. Now we have David. E.T. is who? Who is E.T.?
Madam, I'm the one, Evans.
Evans. Okay. So Evans and Jennifer. So we have David, Evans, and Jennifer. Okay. So where did I get to? 30,000, 35,000, 40,000, 45,000, 50,000, 55,000, 60,000, 62,000, 65,000, 70,000. David and Jennifer, you people think that I won't take the money from you, eh? That's why your hands are still up. 80,000, 85,000, 90,000. Okay, so we have 90,000 for David. So at the end of the day, David wins and David gets the laptop at 90,000 Ghana cedis. Any question as far as English auctions are concerned? David, thank you very much. You win. Guys, I do hope we understand.
Doc.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so with the English one, I don't know whether it is allowed. If I really need that particular commodity, I can have 2 or 3 friends in the process. Where if my amount has passed and then other persons have put up their hands, I can signal my last or the last option, the third person, to still have his or her hand up to be able to get the commodity from me. I don't know if that's applicable here.
Hey, 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 Anthony, they keep saying you're a politician. Anyway, so Anthony, let me tell you this. I mean, these are I would say it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, right? It happens where people actually get like you are cheating the system, right? this is where you are trying to cheat the system. But my point is that why will you lower your hand if indeed you wish you would want to go on and on with the good, or you would want to, get that particular good at a higher price, which means that the item is worth more than the price they mentioned, and you lowered your hand. So why will you lower your hand if you indeed want the item? Do you get the whole point? So if we are still looking at the English one, you want the item. You are we are increasing the item. We are increasing the price of the item. Now it gets to 20,000. Deep within you, you want to buy the item. It is when it gets to 60,000 that you would not buy. But it got to 20,000, then you lowered your hand. If you really needed the item and you could pay for it at 60,000, why do you lower your hand at 20,000? Do you get the whole point? So we do have, indeed, we do have people trying to, cheat the system, find ways and means of paying lower than it actually should be. We also have systems where the sellers would even get people to sort of move the market in a particular way. So there are certain people who wouldn't even, they don't even need the item, okay? But they will, for example, like that of the Dutch. So the people will be there, right? And they are behaving as if they need the item, like let's go, let's keep going. And then it gets to a point, it's even past what the seller was even expecting to get from it. And then the person is still pushing you because you also need the item, you are still going. So all these things are failures in a particular system, or people trying to drag the system in a particular way. But basically, we are talking about where we are playing it fair in a system that the people understand that I'm trying to bid in such a way that I'm able to either get my values worth. Of course, I should have some utility if need be, but you should be able to, at the end of the day, bid your values worth. So you don't go home crying because you've paid for an item that is like falling into the winner's curse trap. You buy an item, the item is worth, to you, it is worth 50,000, and then you are paying 80,000 for it. It wouldn't be a rational decision to make. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So, Doc,
Yes, sir.
so it means that we can easily link this one to the private value because we have the information. And
Yes.
we really, yeah. But
Yes.
the situation, what my brother is saying that is about the common value, because maybe some of the signals you have realized that no, Akwesi don't really buy things at a very high price. But because of the way he's behaving, maybe the thing may be a very nice thing. So that is where you can also like to, come in again, and then maybe the chance, the opportunities too has also gone. So you can therefore tell your brother that Masa, keep your hand in it, and then I'll sponsor it underground.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Where you have no idea what the value is at the end of the day, then you would have a case where, but of course, such mechanisms are designed such that people will be able to, give good estimates and the rest. So it would depend on how the auction is designed. So if, for example, the auction is designed such that you cannot come in again, it will not make sense, right? But from what you are saying, if the auction is designed such that you can change your bid at the end of the day. I mean, why not? But what kind of mechanism do we use at the end of the day? So that is where we have the issue of mechanism design for the whoever is designing to make sure that as far as this particular game or whatever is concerned, I would need to structure this game in this way so that would equally have people being able to come in and out, or would have people being able to increase or make certain decisions along the way. So it would depend on the mechanism design. But I get the point now. Where you have no idea of the value and you had mistakenly dropped off, then indeed, if you have someone in there, but I mean, depending on the kind of game, at what point do you even have somebody in there and the rest? It's quite a complicated issue. Yes, sir. Kin, go ahead. I think you have a question.
Yeah, please, good afternoon. I
Good
want to ask the winner's curse, does it always have to be on the side of the price you paying higher? I'm looking at a case where, let's say, what you bid for, let's say you realize that take for examples the goods that we normally call as it is. I don't know if you've heard of that before. And after buying it, you
You
realize
said
that
the quote.
yeah, in quotes.
Okay.
After buying it, you realize that the quality is not up to par.
Right. Are you done?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I mean, all what you are saying will still match up with the payment, more or less. At the end of the day, if an item is not of that quality, then it means you wouldn't have paid for, you wouldn't have paid for it in a based on the amount that you initially paid. So if you had paid an item thinking it was worth this much, and at the end of the day you realize that the quality is low, you wouldn't have paid for it. Do you understand the point? So how much you have gotten the thing is less than the value so we are looking at value. You get it? So value and then how much you pay for it. So these two are hand in hand because we think that we are trying to sort of measure your value against your payments. You understand? So if you pay for an item and you have less value for it, it's like waboka, right? You've run at a loss. So how much you paid for it is not equivalent to how much it's worth to you. If it is lower than that, if how much it's worth to you is lower than that, then obviously you've run into the winner's curse. I don't know if you get the point. So assuming you bought give me an example and let me see if I can.
Let's say a stereo.
A what?
A stereo.
Cereal.
Stereo,
Stereo.
stereo. Yeah,
Stereo.
yeah.
As in the sound system stereo.
Yes.
Okay, so assuming you bought one, they had written Bosch on it, right? So you thought that it was going to be the type that was going to shake your room. It was going to be the type that was going to, you hear the bass and the boom, boom, boom like that. Maybe it's the type that you go in your mind, that was what you were paying for. Okay. And then you bought it and then realized that, come on, the thing, even the tenor aspect of the system doesn't even function that better. How much more the base in it? Okay, so what if you had that information, or if, for example, you had known, you wouldn't have paid how much you paid for to get the item. So in this case, it's the same thing, because you didn't get the quality that you were expecting, or you didn't get the quality that you thought it was. Fred, does that answer your question?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so guys, let's look at the various auctions, the differences in the various auctions that we have just seen. So if we look at how the bids are made, as far as the English auction is concerned, we say that the auctioneer starts with a low bid and then keeps increasing, okay? And then for the Dutch, they start with a higher bid and then they keep on lowering it until one of the bidder mentions the price, and then we stop it, like what Peter did, and the person pays. And then we have the first price sealed bid. What happens is that people give their bid secretly, and at the end of the day, whoever bidded had the highest bid would win and will pay his or her own price. Then the second highest bid is the same thing. We have the sealed envelopes. Optimal bidding strategy. So the optimal bidding strategy, we all have, we've seen what, if we talk about strategy, we've seen what we are talking about. It is from this strategy that you would act. So what should you do as a bidder in an English auction? So in an English auction, you bid until your perceived value for the item is reached, right? That is the optimal strategy. In the Dutch, you bid the perceived value of the next highest bidder, okay? Then in the first price sealed bid auction, you bid the perceived value of the next highest bidder. The second price, you bid your perceived value of the item. That is to say that at the end of the day, how much you will pay for, you should be able to get, you should be able to make sure that you are not paying more than your value. Then we have the price, what the prize winner actually pays. So for the English, the prize winner will pay for the bid that he or she made, right? That's the highest bid made. For the Dutch, the price when the auctioneer is stopped, and the first price, the highest bid made, and then the second price, the second highest bid made. Then we have the risk to sellers and buyers. So for the English, we have minimal risk to both the sellers and the highest. For the Dutch, you have the risk to both the buyers and sellers of over or under bidding as knowledge of other bidders is required, okay? And then we have for the first price, risk to both the buyers and sellers of over or under bidding as knowledge of the others is also required in this case. Then the minimal risk to both sellers and buyers as far as the second price auction is concerned. Okay, so I think based on the explanations that we had given, you have an idea of how the bids are made in this case, the optimal strategy in this case. The optimal strategy, obviously, you are looking at the payoffs at the end of the day. So which of the payoffs will be optimal? So at the end of the day, based on how much you are paying for you know what the payoffs are going to be. And so in an auction, we know there are two. It's either you go home with the item or you don't. So whilst you are going home with the item, what can I do in order for me to go home with the item? Okay, so whatever action that you take in order for you to go home with the item would help in determining what the optimal bidding strategy would be. So we also have what the prize winner pays. I think these ones are categories that helps us to basically understand what or how these types of auctions differ. Okay. So now let's look at something we call the revenue equivalence theorem. Revenue equivalence theorem. We have already established the bids and how much the highest bidder pays at the end of the day. Obviously, how much the highest bidder pays at the end of the day is what we will perceive as the revenue if you are the seller or you are the auctioneer. So when we talk about the equivalence, the revenue equivalence theorem, we are looking at the fact that under certain conditions, we would have a case where all the auction types will produce the same revenue. Okay, they will all produce the same expected revenue. So if we should do the second prize, if we should do the English, it would still give us the same expected revenue. And let's look at under what conditions. As we rightly said, because we are dealing with human beings, economics, in economics, it's not like the sciences where you would actually put the human brain under a microscope to, determine what will happen at the end of the day. And so before you will be able to come up with some of these things, you would have to have some lay down conditions or some lay down assumptions that will help you make a case. So in this case, we are looking at these conditions. The first one being that each bidder type is drawn from a well-behaved distribution in the sense that we have what we call the cumulative distribution. And in this case, we are saying that it must be strictly increasing and continuous. So we do have that the bidder type, as in the people that we are looking at, are rational. We also are looking at the fact that they are risk neutral, okay? And we have also the case where we are saying that the bidder with the highest type wins. So the bidder with the lowest possible type has an expected pay of 0. When we say the bidder is risk neutral, what do we mean? I know you have done this in micro, so you've done this in micro, so help me. When we say someone is risk neutral, yes, sir.
It means that the person is in between risk lover and then risk averse.
Okay. So, Xavier, you are behaving like the Oxford, is it the Oxford Dictionary or which of the dictionaries? Once you ask for a term, it gives you about 3 or 10 terminologies that you don't even understand. And so it adds on to your confusion. I asked for risk neutral, and Xavier has managed to introduce risk lover and the risk averse. So what are they? Xavier, is it Oxford Dictionary or which of the dictionaries have been doing that?
Look, when
If
we
it was
say
the Bible,
someone
I would have said King James Version. I needed an explanation, and you've added more terminologies to it. So what is it?
So when we say someone is a risk lover, it means that that person
Loves risk.
is someone that really love risks. Example is like the betting. the person can bet whether he loses or he wins. She don't really care. But when the same way when we say someone is a risk averse, the person doesn't really love risk at all. He don't love, I mean, investing and the stuff. So when we are talking about risk neutral, then the person, it's either he will be in between. That is, the person doesn't really love risk. The person doesn't, I mean, as a honey hobby, no.
With a prior.
Folly, would you help us?
Doc,
Doc,
Yes, sir. Folly, go ahead.
Now, why is Doc laughing?
my understanding, a risk lover, it's someone that makes any kind of investment, provided he knows that there is a win at stake. Whether he loses or he wins, it's none of it's not really his business. But he is investing because he's very sure that he's going to win. For a risk neutral person, he calculates the risk that he's taking and expected revenue, expected return. For risk neutral people, usually they will take the risk, but they will never stake or invest in any venture where they know that they are not going to get at least 50% out of it. So once he calculates and knows that, okay, if I invest this thing, I need to get at least 60%, I'll be able to get it. He's very sure that he will get it, then he will invest. But once he or she is aware that this investment will be able to give me the expected return that I want, he will not invest. And a risk averse person, whether you force him or not, he's not going to invest, because for him, whatever he is having is more important than him losing in an uncertain way that he does. He knows that it's not going to recoup whatever amount he's putting in there. So for a risk neutral person, he knows that he's very sure, if I invest, at least I will get something back, maybe 50% of my investment. That is worth it to invest. For a risk averse person, even if you tell him that this return is 50%, he will still decline. That's my understanding. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, thank you very much. So you said a lot of things that some of them I didn't hear. I don't know whether it was because of the network, but I think I got a thing or two from what you were trying to say, trying to compare it as far as investments are concerned. Of course, when we talk about the risk neutrality, in most cases, it helps us to model, right? It helps us to model returns as far as investments are concerned. Of course, we can't really say that people might not really mind certain things, right? But as you rightly said, we are looking at a case where the focus is on the expectation, on the outcome, but not the risk associated to it. David, you wanted to say something?
Doc, basically everything has been said. I just wanted to point out that when we talk about risk neutral, it means the individual is indifferent about the decision, whether the person loses or not. I mean, they don't really care like that. So that is with the risk neutral. They are very indifferent about the decision to whether to take the risk or just opt out. Whatever
Okay.
comes their way, they are good to go.
Okay. So the focus is normally on the return or the outcome, right? But not the risk associated to it. Unlike the others who would want to place some premium on the risk associated to whatever investment or whatever activity that we are looking at. Okay, so these conditions are the conditions that hold in order for us to have what we call the revenue equivalence theorem. So when all these conditions hold, then we can say that all the types of auctions that we have will yield the same expected revenue. So let's look at one where we have the first price auction and then the second price auction. So the first price auction and the second price auction satisfy the condition of the theorem on revenue equivalence of two auctions. So in both auctions, the bidder with the highest valuation wins the auction, right? So we also said that bidders' valuation are drawn from this distribution, and a bidder with a valuation at the lower limit of the interval has a payoff of 0 in both the auctions. I think I had explained to you as far as the distribution is concerned. When we have that distribution, we are saying that the one with the lowest valuation will be 0. So for example, like what we were looking at, if you don't have any value for the item, then we are looking at you having a payoff of 0. You don't have any value for the item at all. So we don't have that of the negatives, and then we do have it in a cumulative distribution function. Then I think we will have a scenario that will help us explain this further. So this is the scenario that I created. So we have that, assume we have two bidders who have the valuations x1 and x2 for an object. Valuations are distributed according to this function, and we are saying that bidders participate sequentially in the auction. I think we have looked at playing sequentially, so you have an idea of what I'm talking about here. Then we are saying that first, the auction determines a buy now price P. Okay, so when we talk about the buy now price, we are also talking about some price ceiling. So the price is known to both bidders, right? Then we have that bidder 1 submits his bid, which is B1, and bidder 2 does not observe B1. So bidder 2 would have no idea what bidder 1 bidded. So we are saying that if bidder 1 bidded B1 and it is greater or equal to the price ceiling that we have, that is the buy now price, then bidder 1 obtains the object and the auction ends. Otherwise, bidder 2 can submit his bid, which is the B2, and the bidder with the highest bid wins. So assume first the winner pays the second highest bid. So we are looking at, in this scenario, we are looking at the second highest bid, the second highest auction, where at the end of the day, the winner will pay the second highest bid. So in this case, all I'm trying to say is that we have two bidders. Now, each of them have their own valuations, okay? Now, the auctioneer has a buy now price, okay? Now, when we talk about a buy now price, we have like this price, and whoever says that, if they mention the price and then you know, go ahead and then buy it, then the game ends, right? So of course, I hope you know we are also playing a game along these lines. So the game ends, that's the auction ends. However, if bidder 1, right, decides that, and because this is a sequential game, we have that bidder 1 bids first and then bidder 2 follows. It could be that I mean, just assume that we've had all our preps with who should go first and the rest, and we are assuming in this case that bidder 1 will go first. So if bidder 1, if bidder 1 to bidder one, the value of or how much the person sees this item is greater or equal to the price ceiling or the buy now price, which is the P, then obviously bidder one wins, right? If bidder one, right, if bidder one's bid is lower in this case, then bidder two comes in with his or her bid, okay? And then in this case, we find the highest bid, but bidder two has no idea how much bidder one bidded. And so we find the highest bid, and at the end of the day, we let whoever wins pay for the second highest bid. So let's see how we have an equilibrium strategy in this case, and let's see how the revenue will play out. So looking at the strategies for bidder two, because bidder two only comes into the game after bidder one had, made his or her bid, we know that bidder two will enter the game when X1 or the value of the item to bidder one is less than the buy now price. Is that okay? So in this sense, bidder two only comes into the game when bidder one's value is less than the buy now price. So in this sense, we are saying that bidder two knows that bidder one did not buy the object at price P. Now, this is the information that is known to both of them. That at the end of the day, if we call you, then it means that, or then know that this person did not buy the item at that price. So you have an idea of where it ranges, just that you don't know exactly what it is. So what happens? So he doesn't observe B1, that is, he doesn't observe bidder one's bid, but in the second price auction, it is a dominant strategy to bid truthfully. So therefore, his best strategy is B2 equal to BX. That is, his bid should be equal to how much he or she really, really wants the item for. Now, what happens if he does not bid truthfully? Anybody? Anybody? Now, assuming that the buy now price is 100,000. Now bidder one bids, but we don't know how much bidder one bidded, okay? So obviously, because I'm supposed to bid, I am bidder two. Because I am supposed to bid, then I obviously know that bidder one never bidded 100,000. So it means bidder one obviously bidded something less than the 100,000. But how much should I bid? I have no idea what it is, okay? So the best strategy is to bid how much I truly value the item for. And when I do that, and at the end of the day, what I bid is more than that of bidder one, I get to pay that of bidder one's bid. So I think when we were looking at the various types of auctions, we said that as far as the second highest bid is concerned, it is always good to bid your own or your true bid, your own value. You should bid equivalent to your own value, because at the end of the day, when you win, you even pay something lower than that. So we say that because in a second price auction, bidding your true value maximizes expected utility regardless of beliefs about B1, it is best to always bid your true value. Any question? Okay. So then we move to the equilibrium strategy for beta 1. So in the case of beta 1 has to choose between the first one buying immediately at P, and the P is the buy now price, right? As I mentioned. So at the end of the day, if, for example, you buy at price P, then your utility is what? X1 minus P in this sense. So how much you value the item minus the price that you paid it for. So at the end of the day, what utility do you have? You have your value minus how much you paid the item for. So in this case, if your value is less than P, then there is no point buying at P, because who would want to run into the negative utilities? No one. You get the point. So we are saying that it's either there's two strategies that the person has. It's either you buy at price P, or you buy at your own true value. Okay. So at price P, at what point will the bidder bid price P? At the point where the bidder realizes that the value that the person has for the product is either equal to the P or it is greater than the P. Then obviously you don't even wait for the second bidder to enter the competition. You just bid and then you move on. But if your value is less than that, then that is when you go ahead and bid. But because this is a case where we have the second highest bid, then it means that we have the second highest auctions where you are actually going to pay something lesser than how much you bidded. Then it is appropriate that you bid your true value for the item. So we have two strategies for the first bidder, and then only one strategy for the second bidder. And the first bidder, the strategy is that it's either they bid the first price, but that would depend on how much the person's value is. And the second is you bidding your true value. Any question at this stage? Any question at this stage? Or you are saying the same thing again? Whenever we are having a nice conversation, then we use notations to confuse you, eh? But it's the same thing. It's the same thing with you
Hello.
saying. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Please, I want to ask with the second what is it called? The second prize bid auction. Does it happen in practice, or
Yes,
it's merely theoretical?
no, it happens in practice.
Okay.
It happens in practice.
I've heard and seen the other one, but this one I haven't heard it before. That's why I'm
It
asking.
happens in practice. You yourself can even design one and implement it right away. David, do you agree? Sorry, Kim, do you agree?
Yeah.
So you can design one and then implement it right away. But it does happen in practice. Okay, so let's move on. So we have that, then we have let's look at the revenue. So we've looked at the strategies for each of them, but let's look at the revenue maximizing buy now price. So let's see. So we are saying that the revenue maximizing buy now price is the P star, right? So the auctioneer, two things. The auctioneer ends the buy now price P with the probability that, and then the expected second highest bid when X1 is greater than the true value. Okay, so if X1 is greater than the true value, then obviously we have that the revenue that will be derived at the end of the day would be the P. Right? Then we could have a case where the X1 is less than that, and if we have that as a case, is less than the true value, and if we have such a situation, then we would have, sorry, I'm using the true value wrongly. I'm supposed to use the cutoff, right? So if we have that, then we are saying that the revenue that will be achieved at the end of the day would be a function of the values of the bidder 1 and bidder 2, subject to the fact that bidder 1's value is less than what is expected. That is the cutoff. Okay, so at the end of the, have you guys done maximization and minimization in micro? Evans?
Yes, we have. We have.
Grace, what about your class? Enoch? Hey, do we have Enoch and Grace on the call?
Hello, madam.
Hello, madam.
No, madam, we've not done it.
What were you two doing?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
But I think
Yes,
it might be
madam.
the network with my case.
My network is good.
Have you guys done minimization and maximization?
Yes, madam, I'm
Madam,
here. I'm responding.
Okay, so have you done that?
Madam, my network is
no,
not good today, crowd. So
Okay,
it's been
Enoch.
on and off like that.
Okay, Enoch, please help me answer the question
No,
for
no,
me.
madam,
please.
we've not done
Yeah.
that. No,
We've done it.
You've not done that.
no,
We've done it.
please.
Okay, so for the
Hey,
June cohort, can you help us? At what point in time are we looking at issues of minimization and maximization?
Is it the microeconomics?
Mustafa, go ahead.
Is it the microeconomics you are talking about?
Sorry?
Is it minimization and maximization in microeconomics?
Yes, in microeconomics.
Okay. So I think we talk about minimization when we are dealing with cost, production cost, and
Okay.
maximization has to do with profit maximization and also utility maximization.
Okay, so at the end of the day, what were you actually looking for?
In terms of we are looking at maximizing
Oh,
the
Mustafa, your network is not helping us at all.
network. My network is not good at that. I'm sorry. But we've done it in microeconomics. So
Okay, so you would recall that you would recall that in micro, when you were finding optimal values, being it cost, being it profit, that is when you do these things. So we are trying to find the optimal value or the best value possible, right? So at the end of the day, in this case, we are also looking at the maximum value that the auctioneer would be able to get from the particular auction. So this is represented by the function that you see there. So we have that the revenue is, which is a function of the price, is equal to the payoff when the payoff when the first bidder decides to pay the buy now price, and the payoff where he decides to enter the bid with the second bidder. So it's subject to the first one, that is where the value for the bidder is more than the payoff, sorry, the buy now price, and that of the case where it is less than the buy now, less than the buy now price, which in that case, he or she enters the auction again with the second bidder. So this is how this is denoted. Then we look at the case where we have the winner paying their own bid. So for the case where the winner is paying their own bid, then we are looking at the case of a first price auction, right? So in this case, if the bid of the first bidder is less than the payoff, then bidder 2 does not know B1, but he knows that the value for the bidder 1 is less than the payoff, right? So for bidder 2, what we can say is that in the first price auction, it is optimal to shade the bid below the true value, right? So it is best for the person to shade his or her bid below their true value, because at the end of the day, you are going to pay exactly what it is that you are going to bid. And at the end of the day, this should be a function of the let me not use function, but it's going to be dependent on the action of the first bidder, who might, in this case, might not have bought the item at the price P. So for bidder 1, it's either two things, right? So for bidder 1, it's either he or she buys the item at P, obviously, and enter the bid with the second bidder. So if the value is greater or equal to the payoff or the buy now price, then it means that he should just buy it and go. So again, bidder 1 has two strategies in this case, and he would need to either do the first or the second, dependent on his or her value for the item. So the revenue maximizing buy now price in this case would be that the auctioneer would earn the buy now price, and that is also dependent on the first bidder's value, which should be equivalent to the P, or the buy now price in this case, and the expected second highest bid when X1 is, oh no, there's not the second highest. It shouldn't be the second one. So there is a mistake here. I'll correct it when I'll correct this when I'm sending the slide to you. So at the end of the day, you would have the payoff. So the payoff is right. At the end of the day, you have the maximizing P, which is such that the revenue of the auctioneer, which is a function of the price, will be looking at a case where the payoff of the payoff of the first case where X1 is greater or equal to X, and then a case where it is less than that, and so the two bidders enters the competition or the auction. Do we understand this? Let me summarize this in a simple term before let me go back and summarize this again in very simple term, okay? But what I have done was try to run you through it with the notation. Let's look at the first one. So the first one is a case where we have the second highest, right? The second highest bid. So in the second highest bid case, there are two people. Let's take, let me take King and, is Pastor Fred on the call? So let me take King and Pastor Fred, right? So King is bidder 1, Pastor Fred is bidder 2. Now, King has a value of X1, Pastor Fred has a value of X2. At the end of the day, if we are playing this game sequentially, right? So it means that we threw a die and King had the opportunity to go first, okay? So King goes first and Pastor Fred goes second. Now what happens is that I am the auctioneer, so I set off a price, and that price is what we call the buy now price. So at the end of the day, because King gets to bid first, right? Now, King decides that he will take my price, and once he takes my price, the auction ends, right? Nothing happens again. Now, if King is not able to take my price, then we enter into the auction proper, right? In the sense that if King does not pay the price that I set, then what happens is that he would have to go and compete with Pastor Fred. So in this sense, what are the strategies for Pastor Fred? Now, Pastor Fred has only one strategy in this case, right? Pastor Fred's strategy is to bid, the optimal strategy is to bid his own value, okay? Now, because we have, so if we're looking at the games with respect to the trees, right, you would realize that King has the various nodes, right? So King will have the first node when he chooses to either pay for the item and then it ends the game, or he moves ahead, right? So think of it like that, like the presentation you did initially. So in this sense, if King pays for the price, then King takes the item away. If King does not pay for the price that I set, then King needs to enter the auction proper with Pastor Fred. Are we okay? So we are trying to see the equilibrium strategy for Pastor Fred. So the first point is that for Pastor Fred knows that once the opening has come to him to bid, then it means that King did not pay for the price. Okay, so in this sense, now in Pastor Fred's mind, he knows that King's value is less than the price that the auctioneer is giving out. Okay, so at the end of the day, King here might have given something that is less than the P, but I have no idea what it is. Okay, so sorry, I'm using I, but I'm supposed to use Pastor Fred. But Pastor Fred has no idea what it is, right? That King bid it. Okay, so we are saying that the best strategy for Pastor Fred in this case is to bid his true value, which is the X2. Okay, that is the best strategy. Now, why is this the case? Now, the case is that it's so because if he bids his true value, and at the end of the day, King's bid is lesser than his true value, he even gets to pay that price that King bidded, which is less than that. And so he's able to get substantial utility out of it, right? So that's the point. Please, any question in this case? Okay, if you don't have a question, I have one for you. You don't have to tell me the answer now, but you'll find the answer next week when, I mean, it's something for thought. So next week when we are coming, you come and tell me, because I think if we don't do that, you might not be able to grasp some of these things and think deeper around it. What happens if the bids are the same at the end of the day? What happens if the bids are the same? Think about it. What happens if the bids are the same? If you are the designer in this case, so think about it. You are the designer. What happens if the bids are the same? Okay, so let's move on. Now let's look at King's strategy. So King's strategy would be either paying for the item at P, okay, when his value for the item, or when his valuation for the item is more than the P. Okay, so at the end of the day, you should be able to pay for the item. I mean, you value the item, your value for the item is 2,000, and the buy now price is 1,008. Why don't you just, pay it and go your way, right? So at the end of the day, it's either you do that or you enter the second price auction with Pastor Fred, in this case, when what the value that you have, that's that 1,008, sorry, the value that you have, that 2,000, is less than the price that the bidder has given. So in this case, you have to go and then compete. But what happens normally in an auction, it's either, I think I mentioned this, it's either you are taking the item home or you are going home empty-handed. It's these two things. So what would be the best strategy to use in order to take the item home? And this is what we are looking at. You get it? So if there are so many strategies you can think of, but which one is the best in order for you to take the item home? And that is what we are considering. So if you decide to lower your price, if you decide to lower your price as against the valuation that you have, it's at your own, because at the end of the day, it's either you're taking the item home or you're going home empty-handed. And nobody wants to go home empty-handed. So we are looking at you being able to get the item and you being able to get the maximum utility thereof. So bidder 1 buys at P if X1 is greater than this. I think I've mentioned it, and I have mentioned what happens if he or she realizes that the valuation that he or she has is less than what has been offered. Guys, any question? Any question? Debbie? Hey, Jennifer? Esther? Priscilla?
Yes, Doc.
Priscilla, you're the only one here with me. Where are the rest?
Doc, we are
Madam, I'm
here.
Doc, we are
here.
here. We are here, Doc.
So the men are here, the women have left me. Please, is this clear?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Okay, so I felt it was important for us to do this section so that we could use, I think, as Evans rightly said, next week is revision, right? And I thought that it's better for us to do this session. And did we look at incentive capabilities the other time?
No, we didn't.
We didn't.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I thought that it will be important for us to look at this session so that subsequently when we meet, we could have time to look at the last bit of the course, which would entail, so that in our last class would entail some questions. I mean, I'll also pick questions from you as well, and then with a lot from me, we'll solve the questions I gave you that I asked you to take a look at. And then I think I asked you to solve last year's question, to take a look at last year's question. I don't know whether you guys did or not. So for next week, we are going to do the questions together. We'll solve them together. And I do hope that you all have been able to submit yours, because last week you told me you were going to submit it by Tuesday. Some of you mentioned to me that you had problems with the LMS, and so I advised that you send it to me via email. I mean, I think the person even suggested to send it to me via email. So you can as well send it to me via email if you are not able to. So next week, what we are going to do is that we are going to solve these together with some other questions. And I'm sure once we do that, it will iron out all difficulties as far as this is concerned. So guys, I think end here if you don't have any questions. Do we have any questions? Debbie, do you have a question?
No, Doc.
Let me see. There are some things in the chat. Let me see, please. Okay, so Esther said she doesn't have any question. So if you don't have questions, it's normally two things. It's either you understand it and you're okay, or you don't understand anything at all. So which is which? You understand it or you don't. Okay, so I mean, before we end it, let me give you another scenario and then you tell me what you think the best strategies will be in order to help me really believe that you understand. So assuming that we have two individuals, right? Two individuals, we have okay, let me use Priscilla and Debbie. So Priscilla and Debbie, and we are doing wig sales, right? So Debbie and Priscilla, don't mind me if you don't wear wig, it still holds. But let's say we are doing wig sales, okay? And at the end of the day, we are doing the second highest. So once you bid, right? Once you bid, you pay the second highest bid, okay? So assuming Debbie's value for the wig is guys, forgive me, I don't wear a wig, so forgive me if I mention a ridiculous price. But Debbie's value for the wig is 2,000, and I'm using Debbie and Priscilla, right? And Priscilla's value is 2,500. Okay. Now, assuming Debbie goes first, okay? So Debbie is the first bidder and Priscilla is the second bidder. What do you think should be the payoff? What will be the payoff? No, let me start with the strategy. What will be the strategy for Debbie in this case? I've left an important information out, and I'm hoping you identify that in order to make your decision. But what will be Debbie's strategy? Nene, I haven't heard your voice today. Is Erica Jiman on the call?
Please, I'm here.
Nene, what will happen? Or Nene, are you going to take a lawyer?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, Anthony, please help me. Anthony Adama.
Anthony.
You are in trouble. Your lawyer is absent from court.
Okay, please. Isaac Kofi Atiga.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't quite get the question.
So, Nene, give him the question. Nene, you picked a lawyer who does not understand the issues. So tell him what the issue is and let him use his expertise to advise you.
Madam, please, Isaac, please, Madam said two ladies are bidding for a wig and they all bidded the same price. So what will be the possible outcomes?
No, they didn't bid the same price, though. I don't think that was what I said. That question I asked earlier in the class, but the current one, I think it was 2,000 against 2,500. And I was asking what the strategies for the ladies should be in a case where we have the second highest bid.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So please, Isaac, over to you.
Okay, so two ladies have priced one particular way. So the first lady who is pricing 2,000, I think from her perspective, that's how she values it. So if maybe she doesn't value it as a bone straight wig, so that's why she's bidding the 2,000 for it. And the 2,500 is actually because she has, that's the value she's placing on it. So I think it's based on they will choose their strategy based on what they have seen. On the outer side of the rig, and maybe probably what the buyer and what the seller also is going to the information the auctioneer or the seller is giving to them. I don't know.
So how much should Isaac, it looks like you even understand the wig market more than me. So, so what should they bid? What should they actually bid in a second highest auction? What should they bid?
So in the
Second
second
highest
high,
bid auction.
so
What
in
should
the
they
second
bid?
highest, I think the first one. She in the first one she bid 2,000. So since she values it more, she can bid up to maybe 3,000 to it. So maybe no 300, so 2,300, right? And looking at all the information she has, and the second one can also do it about because she bid the 2,500 for the first one. She can bid 3,000 for it. Definitely, the seller will go for the highest one.
Okay. So guys, in this particular scenario, I didn't even add the buy now. I didn't add the buy now price, right? So
Yes.
I've made it very simple and I've made it a sealed highest bid auction, right? And I think at the initial stages, I had said that Debbie will go first and then Debbie will go first and Priscilla will follow. But then subsequently, I was thinking that, okay, why don't we just bid accordingly? But I mean, that makes it the game very simple. So note that I mentioned in the earlier submission that when it comes to this, you always need to bid your true valuation of the item. The true value that you have for the item is what you are supposed to bid. So whatever valuation that you had, that is what you have to bid. So in this case, Debbie is supposed to bid 2,000 and Priscilla is supposed to bid 2,500. If Debbie bid anything above that, okay, because you've not observed it, okay, you've not observed what the other person had bidded. Nobody knows what the other person is going to bid, right? But let's take the case where Priscilla bidded, let's say 2,800. If Priscilla paid 2,800, then what happens? Then she's running into what we call the winner's curse. Because at the end of the day, the value that she had for the item is, how do you call it? The value that she had for the item is 2,500, but she's bidding what? 800. In the case of the second highest bid, the good thing here is that you get to pay for the second highest, right? You get to pay for the second highest. But Kofi, tell me, what if the second highest was 2,000? Like, because in the background story, you know that Debbie's value for the item is 2,000, which is why you said, oh, then we can add a little more to it. But assuming that Debbie's worth, right, is, let's say, 100 cedis more than your true value, and you decided to add 300 to it, right? Because you don't know Debbie's, and you decided to add 300 to it. Now, when you add the 300 to it, and Debbie had bidded, let's say, 2,600, then it means that you are going to pay 2,600, but your true value in this case is 2,500. Again, you have run into the winner's curse. Do you understand it? So we are saying that in the second highest bid, it is always important to bid your true value, because at the end of the day, what will happen is that you are even going to pay something lesser than that. But whatever be the case, you would bid your true value. Do you understand? So it is when we have the case of the first price that people are likely to shade off a bit, right? But as far as the second price is concerned, you bid your true value, which is why we have that B1 should be equal to X1. Guys, do we understand?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So I think it's still a bit shaky. So what I'll do is that I'll put some of the questions, because I realize that in most cases, when I put the questions on the LMS and you have to go and solve them yourselves, sometimes it brings the understanding better. So I'll set some questions on this and post it on the LMS again by close of day Tuesday. And you have to go into the portal and then look at those questions. When we meet next week, we'll solve the previous questions that I had given you, which most of you have submitted in the portal on the LMS, and this new one. So we'll solve all of them and then we will conclude on everything. So guys, if you don't have any question, I would like to say thank you very much for your time. And I do wish you the best for the weekend. Evans, anything for me?
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much, Doc. Doc,
Right,
thank
thank you
you.
too. So before we go, I think last week I mentioned that Pastor Fred prayed for us last week, right? And since we are in the Eid Mubarak season, I mean, it was yesterday, but it's not too late. So we'll have Al Hassan, will you do us the honors?
Yes, Doc, let's pray. Dear God, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for being with us from the beginning. And as we are about to end, we thank you so much for all the understanders. We are here seeking knowledge. As you have commanded, you made it obligatory that all believers should seek knowledge. And here we are seeking knowledge in your name. We pray that you make us understand whatever we are taught, and bless the tongue of our lecturer to be able to tell us what we can understand. We pray that as we learn, let it stay, so that when we go to be examined, we will do well in your name. I pray, and I pray that those who are not at home, dear Lord, you guide them and send them back home. All this I pray in the name of the Almighty God. Amen.
Amen. Al Hassan, why will people not be at home? Where are they?
Amen.
Some people are doing business, so madam. In fact, I just got home.
All right, guys.
It's
See
not
you next
easy.
week.
It's not
Bye.
easy. Bye.